Thank you so much, the three of you, for coming. And to me personally, this series of you three sitting here being primary data source specialists, to me, this is a privilege. Thank you so much. I have a question for Vijayji first. There is the first domesticated animal as pets. Dog was a pet. And then 7,000 years later, we had goat. So when we talk of herders and settlers, herders and farmers, so the dog was in the hunter-gatherer phase and we used to have them as pets. Or how like the first domestication of dog and the gap with the goat is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
it's working.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The dog basically wasn't a pet but a companion for hunting. So he was, the dog was perhaps, because if you look at the history of domestication of dog, that's a bit different from many other animals. Entire sequence of animals to get domesticated, dog is the first. And it looks like that, the hypothesis says that perhaps the wolves must have come in close proximity to the settlers. And some of them must have perhaps been exposed to refuse or some food debris or the garbage. And they must have just found this source. And they started coming again and again. And then perhaps that became an easy source of survival rather than it running around chasing and hunting and killing. And that's what one hypothesis says, that the dogs must have come in contact with man. And when the people started observing, the settlers started observing some puppies or some adults coming, obviously it was easy for dogs to also, because by the time they had become very familiar with this population, so settlers. So that's the way we look at the history of domestication of, or the process of domestication of dogs. But dogs coming in contact with was a big boom to these early settlers, because when we look at this time period of 18,000, this was certainly, as you rightly pointed out, they were not really domesticating, they were not really settlers per se. They were just in a stage of hunting gathering communities. If you look at these tribes in Australia, where they have Pariya dog, and that becomes the most important association for any hunt they're going out for, this comes as a big help. Dog is protecting, also helping in killing, and a strong association for human assistance that way. And the goats and sheep coming much later, the reason is that perhaps it's to do with availability of, when I say availability, like for example, there are major difference between cattle and buffalo and sheep and goat is that cattle, one animal, will be sufficient for, because they have been in hunting spree initially and observing these calves and trying to catch hold of the calves in the herd and then rearing them, which is the definition of domestication. The complete control, including breeding, over the animal only made it possible, them declared as domesticated animals. So this is still a, secondly, goat that has been reported from Iraq. We don't have other generally dates for that early goat domestication in this part of the country. We have from some sites from Arabia, but this is the most ancient date that we have now, 11,000 years.
So second question, and then anybody can ask. Just one follow-up for all three of you. Since all of you are scientists and we are always historically accused of not having a sense of history, what is, does any reference to the legends of the Puranas and the way we have recorded history in terms of storytelling and also mixing a little bit of mythology and this whole cycle, do you get clues from that style of storytelling that corroborates anything? Like how does that style of storytelling correlate to scientists like you, or you do not use that? All three of you, I want your opinion. The Puranic form, this cyclic form.
I just showed that it can be used, and we should use much more we should use much more of this, because unfortunately I do not know why historians keep dismissing the Puranas, keep dismissing the Indian literature, because any people define themselves best rather than any other third person coming in between, when the culture has already been developed without much understanding, within 50 years, 100 years, start defining or writing their history. That doesn't work. Neither for the Greeks could not do it well. You know, you have example of Indica from Megasthenes. We call him, we see Indica as a great primary text. Sorry, Megasthenes is talking of weird things, nonsense. He's talking of people of India sleeping in their own ears. Ears were that large. So we should, that's how it is. That's what is written. Again, we don't, Indica is lost. We get references of Megasthenes Indica through other Greek authors and Roman authors who might have read it. So definitely our own text defines us best, but of course we'll have to draw a line somewhere, not a very strong line between what mythology is, between what history is, but definitely we'll have to open the criteria of what can be history and what can be the sources for history, and how stringent should be our analysis of those sources.
Vijay ji, you would like to talk about animals and Puranas and references and how it helps your science?
Okay.
No, genetics has also a lot of information here. So, yeah, so about this dog domestication, you know, like the Aboriginal Australians, so we have evidence of early dog domestication goes back to 10,000 years ago. We have genetic evidence. You know, when Indians started migrating to Australia, so they brought a dog breed that is somehow related to dhole, the wild dog of the India. They started domesticating about 10,000 years ago, the hunter-gatherer society of India. And the dingoes of Australia, they are also genetically similar to dhole. So that history goes back as early as to 10,000 years ago. So we have direct evidence of dog domestication. We are also working on a lot of dog samples from high altitude Himalaya in Ladakh. And then that history goes back to 12,000. We have yak evidence, yak. So we have cut marks on the yak skeletal remains, and that yak is domesticated yak. So yak domestication has started taking place 12,000 years ago. So that data has not come out yet, but maybe you can add.
Yeah, this dog data wasn't available to us. This
Yes,
dog data.
yes.
That's why I wasn't.
So the
aware of this.
domestication history is quite old in India.
The stray dogs, I don't know whether to call them street dogs or stray dogs or whatever, dogs unattended on the roads, free roaming, whatever. These stray dogs are also, all the dogs are having one single family. They're called ind dogs, IND dogs. And these ind dogs have, in fact, there were the two species identified by Prashad and Sevil Guha in Harappan and Mohenjo-daro material, which they thought this is very much going very close to one Russian species, and also which is another one which has been reported from Anau in Turkmenistan. But that was all about those two skeletons from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. But as far as our side of the story is concerned, we don't have any other association. It's just the ind dog. It's just a Faria dog, and thereafter the, am I right? Faria we call it, right? Faria dog, which is continuing even in the modern times. And they also say that this dog is best adapted, brilliant, extremely agile, and has straight ears, very curled tail, and that's why in Vedic literature it's called Vakra Kuchika. It's a very typical references you find in Vedic literature as far as dog is concerned. And of course, dog has various different stories in mythology that you all know. So,
I have a question first, two questions. First for Pranjal. You were mentioning this reference in Raghuvamsa, but there he talks about the Hunas, and this is something I also faced when I was researching that period. The Hunas came later, no? The Hunar invasion happened around the time when Skandagupta was in power. but Kalidasa was supposed to be in Chandragupta Vikramaditya's court. So that is one of the things that Marxist historians say to discredit the fact that Chandragupta was, the patron of Kalidasa. What does your research say about that?
See, we have sometimes we use terms which are more general terms, which might have happened, because you see, when we are talking of the Greeks, when we are talking of the colonizers, when we are talking of even the Mughals, we are sometimes putting them under one same term, which might have happened again. So, but Hunas are, it's not that Hunas were not known to people here. When the Kushans came down, it was the Huns that were chasing them down. So Hunas were not unknown to us. But of course, it is after the later Guptas, around, when we have Mihurkul and Torman, and these are the Hun people who had come later on. But of course, right after the Guptas, they were in. So they were definitely at the borders, and he's talking of the Sapta Sindhu. So they were probably trying to infiltrate, which was stopped by them. But it is Skandagupta which has actually stopped the invasion of Hunas.
He defeated them.
Yes, he defeated them.
So this question is for Dr. Niraj Rai. When you are talking about the DNA sequencing, and you say that there is no difference, there is a lot of Indus Valley DNA present in today's population. Is that a very effective way of completely discrediting the myth of the Aryan, and forget the invasion, the myth of the existence of this mythical people called the Aryans? Because there are still books being written using I don't know, fabricated research, or God knows what, saying that it shows that there was some kind of Indo-Iranian bloodline mixed in us or whatever. Can you just clarify that?
Yeah, it's about 100 years old propaganda, so it won't go away so easily. So, but scientifically and genetically, we have proven that there is no Aryan invasion or even the Aryan migration. Everyone has Central Asian ancestry. I am having 22% Central Asian ancestry in my DNA, but that has come very later, and that has no connection with any Aryan invasion or any Central Asian invasion. So, from this platform, I am very much sure that I am confirming again here that there is no even Aryan migration has happened ever. And when we compared the IVC genetic ancestry, that we have found South Indians, they have more Harappan DNA compared to the North Indian. So this is another fact that not many of you that know about this. So this is another fact. Yeah, that could be one reason.
Yeah, two questions. First to Pranjal ji. So you showed these coins depicting Kartikeya and the Yaudheya dynasty and all that, right? So we see Kartikeya being a major deity through the Kushana, Yaudheya and the Gupta. In fact, in the Gupta dynasty, Skandagupta, Kumaragupta, Kartikeya Gupta, all three are named after the same deity. But after that period, we suddenly see that the Skanda worship almost disappears from North India. But it flourishes in, of course, this place, Tamil Nadu, where he is a major deity, Murugan or Skanda. So do you have any study or a theory on why the Skanda worship, majorly diminished in North India after let's say 6th, 7th century?
Yes, this is definitely something that has been debated again and again. I think a short answer would be Shiva sent him down. In the Puranas also it's mentioned Shiva sent him down. Again, why? What is the reason really? We cannot pinpoint. Archaeologically also we cannot pinpoint. Probably because Vaishnavism and Shaivism was taking over in a strong way. But again, you see very clearly there's a division, especially in South India. We see that there is this people worshipping Murugan and people worshipping Shiva are seen separate. It's not You know, some people don't even see Murugan as the son of Shiva. They say it's a separate deity. This is a Sangam age deity.
No, that is not true. That is
not true.
See, that is all the distortion.
Yes.
I mean, he is so totally, even in the Sangam poems, he is depicted as the son of Shiva. Okay, so that there is really no confusion that he is somewhat different or separate from Shiva and all that.
Yes, but
He is worshipped with some special affection, that's all.
yes, but as he grows in South India, he has claimed to have his own cult, which is diminishing. For again, it's not that I can truly answer your question, but there are no reasons why we should see a decline of the worship of Kartikeya in North India. But definitely, if we are to believe Puranas, then Shiva has sent him down. That is the only evidence that we have why there is a diminishing worship of Kartikeya.
So, but don't you think it is perhaps because of the increasing influence of Buddhism, where Kartikeya was considered as war god or the Devasenapati? So you know, when the martial, the spirit somewhat declined, the Kshatra declined, so the worship of Kartikeya also kind of disappeared with that. That seems more, makes more sense.
Again, if we say that, then Buddhism should have played its role much earlier. It's not in 6th century AD that Buddhism suddenly rose. You know, this is the time when Vaishnavism and Shaivism is rising, and with the Guptas, they are not even patronizing Buddhism. They almost don't care. You haven't went out almost at that time.
So you haven't seen any study on this topic?
No, not that I have seen. I have not seen. But of course, if you talk of Yodhas who are worshipping Kartikeya, and then historians themselves who say that it is the Ganarajyas or the Ganasanghas who are more inclined towards Buddhism because they are non-violent sects, which does not match. You know, these are, all of these people again they start blaming that the tribals are not so civilized, so they are violent people. They are troublesome to the state organization. But at the same time, these are the ones who are Republican. Clearly, Ganasanghas they are being called. Yodhaya Ganasangha. So they should be more inclined towards Buddhism, while they are more inclined towards somebody who has a veil in the hand, who has always a weapon in the hand, and they're Shastropajivi Sangha again. So that's a mismatch again. So there are no answers. Yes, history has no answers to a lot of the questions, which is true, which is why research needs to be done.
Yeah, this question is to Niraj ji. So you mentioned that there is evidence of endogamy marriages for 1,000 years, the last 1,000 years prominently. But again, if we corroborate it with history, typically it is said that after the Shunga period, right, when the Smriti texts arose, that started talking about these endogamous marriages as some kind of lofty virtue to be followed. So then we should actually have about, you know, close to 1,800 or 2,000 years of endogamy. So does this, I mean, is there a mismatch between that observation based on the literary texts and the genetic evidence?
So yeah, so there is a scale. So on the scale, we are seeing that endogamic practices must have started about 2,000 years ago. So this time bracket is from 1,000 years ago to the 2,000 years ago. And then high level of endogamicity and the caste system we are observing about 1,200, about 1,000 years ago. We have seen some communities like Vaishya community of Andhra Pradesh, some Baniya and Agrawal community of northwest of India. They have started endogamicity quite earlier, about 2,000 years ago. So maybe you are correct. The foundation of that endogamicity and caste system must have started that time, but certainly not about 3,500 years ago that we call the Vedic time.
I had one question. It's about the animal domestications. So I was just curious that we saw a lot of like even cats being buried close to the royal burial chambers and things. And thinking of how cats started domesticating themselves. You spoke briefly about the dogs, them finding food easily, etc. But the cats that we domesticate are closer related to, I think, the lesser cats that we find in the wild. And as far as I know, there's not a single species that's not elusive, that's not shy in nature. So how did that crossover come from the wild side onto the domestic side?
There is only one species of wild, which is Catus felis sylvestris. But when we look at domestic, your first sentence was that how come they got into the gamut of domestic animals, right? It was also mutual, because cats, of course, would come for easy prey, and the easy prey was very easily available in the form of rats, and rats became the immediate worry for these inhabitants, the settlers. In fact, if you look at this references in Egypt, this was another reason that you have a goddess called Bestet, and they have so many mummies of cats, and cat is already got entirely different platform the cat has been put into. So it looks like that perhaps agricultural societies needed a cat around them, or the cat's population. Knowing fact that cats multiply in a year two to three times. So the population was a most welcome presence to get rid of the pestilence. And I think that's the major thing. But as far as status of these cats at the site of Sonali has to be investigated. We just started working upon it. This is just the first announcement that we have been able to identify this as burials. Otherwise, why this should be female warriors burial is about nearly 300 meters away. And then you have this. And this is found from secondary burial. This both the cats were buried in second burial. And second burial meaning that there are no bones. The human remains must have been buried elsewhere. Part of it is taken many a time, or they have been relocated in this burial, which is known as secondary burial, along with this the goods, grave goods. So they've got grave goods and cat burial. So there are no such. We don't have complete skeletons, and these two cats, one top of another, are perhaps the only of its kind in South Asia.
Just a follow up on that quickly, being that if, like, could there be a parallel drawn between the cats and the royalties buried? Like, were they buried at the same time? Like, could it have been their owners?
It's possible. It's possible. We cannot deny that possibility.
The question is to all three of you. I want all of you to answer one after the other. You're scientists and you have no vested interest in your science apart from searching truth. But from various literature that we read, we know that findings are shaded with politics. So when you find something, like you in the field of genetics, archaeology, whatever in the faunal evidence, do you feel pressure from any political side as to not reveal some truths? Do you, or is it absolutely you're free?
Never.
Your answer is never. I want all of you to speak as honestly as you can.
Same with me. I've never experienced such kind of pressure from any political agendas.
No, I don't. Never.
This is a long time ago, so my memory is not very good. I had read Aravindan Neelakantan's Breaking India, and how a total false narrative based on absolute falsehood about this difference between Dravids and the North Indians, how it came about, and them being descendants of, from the church side and things like that. So I wanted to know if any of your findings are suppressed because of political agendas. Okay.
Not at all.
Thank you. Okay.
It may be a little uncomfortable, but I know with regard to many things, we are trying to regain our pride, and today we are, we have sort of, you might call this a Hindu Renaissance, or as Conrad Else also has written a book about it. But she has talked about political pressure, but because I see this as a history teacher, I see this in public discourse. There are ultra-nationalists who want to, who are also in the danger of distorting history and very reluctant to accept, things like migration, things like influence, things like, which animal came from where. So can you just give us all of you, maybe we'll end with that, a scientific sort of practical reassurance of whether it is, conquerors who have come. You've talked about the Kashakas and the Huns and the Kushans. Your entire work, a lot of it is on migration. Yours, we have this whole thing about what animal came from where. Can you just give us this, this mental balm so that we are less aggressive about not accepting anything that is not everything was Indian, everything was, like that sort of reluctance, if you can.
Should I?
Sorry, it's my
Okay, I'll give an example of horse. Because when I examined the bones of horses from different sites, excavated sites, to me it appears that yes, measurements come very close to actual equus caballus, that's domestic horse, in Harappan levels as well. But the fact of the matter is that the material that is needed to confirm its presence has to be complete. We have broken bones and broken teeth. Now this Professor Bocconi, way back in 1993, 94, 97, he published a detailed report on how the horses from Sulkutada, the equine remains from Sulkutada are all, not all of them are horses, but 6 of them are horses. Among them, the 3 are teeth which have the crenulation and the features which confirm that horse may be present. So this is his argument. Another argument coming from Richard Meadow. He says that none of them are horses, they're all wild ass. Now, as far as my study is concerned, I find them going very, very close to horse. That's why if at all this is confirmed tomorrow using DNA data, that the horse is actually a horse, not a wild ass or a domestic donkey, I think I'll be the first to celebrate it, because that's what I think that what India has, the Harappan levels, is definitely domestic horse. But now, as you say that any pressure or any kind of, no, I would say that even if I feel like, unless and until it's confirmed that it's horse, I will not make any such, interpretations, announcements, and results of being horse.
Yeah, sometimes also we face such kind of pressure, not from the public domains, but from the archaeologists. I remember you are behind me to confirm about the authenticity of horse, and from DNA data we have confirmed that is the horse. But which horse breed? Because we don't have any modern day data, so we are producing more and more data just to be more authentic about the existence of horse. Because this is a very strong statement and bold statement. The existence of horse is going to be a game changer in the field of archaeology. So I think maybe within few months we are going to reveal this finding. Yes. Thanks.
I'm looking forward to the data that we are sharing and working upon it. You are also referring to Binjore.
Yeah, 4MSR.
Right, 4MSR Binjore.
I think in my case, because with science you can really pinpoint, you can come to a final conclusion, but coins and all of epigraphy is subjective, it's interpretations, and but again, addressing your question directly, this is a wrong conception that everything has come from India. Definitely, we should get rid of this. There were things where we were behind, and one should not really say it behind. Everything had its own purpose. Say, for the coins, we were very bad at coins. The Janapada coins and all these tribal coins, they were nothing in front of the Greek coins. In fact, our coins were becoming better when we started imitating the Greek coins, the Greek stater, the Roman denarius. When we started imitating them, even the weight of the coin was being imitated. That's when our coinage became better. But from the point of view of inscriptions, yes, it was good since quite early, but script came a little late. and it took some time to really develop it because nobody wanted to have a script. Oral traditions were so strong, script wasn't required. When we talk of art and architecture, yes, we were well ahead from the point of view of not that we were making very physically similar statues like as human anatomy would look like, but our statues had even a spiritual significance. It was trying to combine, like Shivendra says in his foundations, the matter and spirit into a physical form. So in some things we were way ahead. Say today we had a fine lecture where Indian knowledge system, whether it is sciences, whether it is the calculation of time, Harappans had weights and measures as small as 0.32 grams. We don't know what they were measuring with that. So for certain things we were way ahead, and for certain things which we did not feel the need, the requirement, it was unnecessary, we didn't pay attention to that. So there are both sides to it.
So my question is that even in Ved, the coinage is mentioned, Nishaka. Nishkas or Nishaka, the spelling is Nishak. Do we have any evidence of that weight or how the coinage happened during Vedic period? We always end up starting our history with the Harappan period, but I have a theory, and my theory is that simultaneously many things are going on. Delhi, Pondicherry are coexisting, right? And there is interaction, but Delhi is growing independent of Pondicherry and Pondicherry is growing independent of Delhi. So while one area is working on bronze, the other could be working on iron, and third one could be working on something else. Similarly, Nishakas or Nishakas, the coinage was there in the Vedic period as is mentioned in the Vedas, but do we have anything about that anywhere else? And when you say everything did not come from India, yes, it did not. But whole lot that came from India, are we able to take credit of all that also, or are we given credit of all that? We are very easy to give credit to others, but have we been given credit of what all we have given them, including the language? That there are findings and sayings where they say that Indian, even during Alexander's time, that don't get gold and silver from India, but get the wise men and women from India. So the prefix and suffix, how that will change the language and how many words can be built out of it, came from India and came from Sanskrit, and how Latin and Greek were enriched by Indian interaction through Sanskrit. I don't think anybody speaks and writes about it. So it is in that context that enough of giving credit to everybody else. How about taking some credit for all the work our ancestors have done? Are we working on that?
So yeah, there are so many contexts that you have brought in. Thank you. And yes, we have not been given credit. We are starting to take credit with NEP 2020, with IKS being implemented everywhere and being taught everywhere. I'm myself teaching IKS since 6 years now. So we are starting to take credit. And but it's because we never took credit. They never gave credit. It's lost. So it's a very tiresome job to now take it back from them. And when we talk of Nishk, again, people have debated because we don't have any archaeological evidence of the Vedic period. I mean, because there was no probably Vedic period, there was no probable Aryan alone society. So Nishka, they say sometimes it might be a gold ornament, it might be coin, because the Harappan civilization does not have coins. So, but they are doing a lot of trade. How they are doing the trade, we are not sure. Probably barter system. They are exchanging in kind. But again, what really, because the earliest evidence of coins we have is with the Janapadas. 6th century BC, might have gone to 7th century. That's the maximum we can push it. But again, there are a lot of terms in Vedas of which we cannot pinpointedly determine what it means. Say for the long debated term Ayas. Whether it is iron or it's copper, what is it? We are not able to really determine that. Yes, it is true. There are a lot of things. Again, with the Vedas, it's much more tricky, like some of the people have told in today's lectures also. The word and its meaning in the Vedas has such a vast gamut of possible interpretations and meanings that we cannot really pinpoint. So Shivendra in fact says that, we should stop looking for physical evidence of most of the things of the Vedas. But yes, we need to bring back, we need to get acknowledged, we need to maybe force it down their throat that this is from us. And I think we can have a whole PLF on Indian knowledge system, even just on metallurgy. It is still 3 days will not be enough. You can have now some universities are starting Indian knowledge system masters. So I think we're doing it. It'll happen. Thank you.